All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am up and running. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Michael Hyson. I go by the name Angelus, son of Abaddon. And today I'd like to discuss a little bit about black magic and earth, or I should say the earthen element of the Witch's Creed, the Witch's Pyramid, and most importantly, the oath of what is to come, okay, within this field. This symbol is the element of earth. It is a symbol of earth, okay? It is the alchemical, astrological symbol of earth, the ethereal realm, physical realm, all right? Now, what is to note about this is that all things that afflict you within the physical realm, be it mental, be it emotional, be it psychological, even, okay, or even spiritual, these aspects revolve around the first key, the first gate. And that is the physical realm. This is the three-stage process. Okay. It is everything that we see, everything we feel, everything that afflicts us on a physical, psychological, or emotional level. Okay. And I talked a little bit about this in my last video on spiritual warfare. Okay. But today I want to take it further and get into the actual gnosis of the earth. Okay. In Simon's Necronomicon, he gives an address, three symbols. Okay. Three magical symbols, with the first one being the earth symbol. Okay. That which deals with the five elementals: earth, water, fire, air, and spirit. This is also known as the five pillars. Okay, you can find this in the Quran. You can find it in the JCI Bible. You can find it in the Kabbalah, Hermeetics. Okay, every system out there that deals with the elementals, from witchcraft to shamanism and such. Now, what does the earth represent but that of the physical life, the life form? Those of you who have had hardships will probably refer to it as hell. Okay, we are in hell. This is hell itself, the physical realm where it's like, fuck this goddamn world, Um, we've had a lot of inflictions over the years, including myself included, you know. As I discussed in the last video, there's been a lot of spiritual attacks. There's been a lot of physical attacks. There's been a lot of psychological and emotional attacks. Okay, but I also told you about a book called The Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft by Christopher Penziak. Now, what I didn't tell you was that he also wrote a book called The Witch's Shield. Okay. Now, the Witch's Shield deals with everything in this realm that will allow you to protect yourself, to perform reversal magics, and send it back to the sender, okay, the originator. But it also discusses how to set up wards and deal with things to keep it at bay. Okay. Now, personally, I didn't agree with this book because there wasn't really much detail on how to actually employ it, how to create it, how to charge it, and such like that. Now, as an experienced occultist, as an experienced Satanist and necromancer, I've had 29 years of experience in this field of black magic, cursing, hexing, okay, protections, bubbles, reversal spells, okay, hexes, curses, the whole kit caboodle. So when it came to his book, The Witches, The Shield, I did not agree with it. And this is why. Number one, anybody who buys an occult item, such as, say, for an example, a human skull, okay, you have to consecrate it. You have to bless it. You have to sanctify it in the current that you, as the practitioner, are getting into. Okay. Now, he never really goes into this stuff. He just talks about a lot of different things. Personally, after the first two pages, I kind of had glassy eyes and kind of, you know, went into La La Land. But he's a good author, and he has a lot of good information. I do recommend his books, though. But when you are dealing with physical afflictions, when you're dealing with things from the JCI, okay, when you're dealing with things on a spiritual or physical level, when you're getting it from all angles in all directions, you really have to understand the mechanics. You have to understand about purifying yourself, your altar room, your home, the items. But more so, you have to understand the mechanics in reversing that spell. Okay? Not just canceling it out, but to send it back to its sender. And after watching the 3 videos on spiritual warfare by Sumnus Dreadwood, I really liked his definitions. I really liked the fact that he took the time to explain it, but he also took the time to tell you exactly how to reverse it, to ward against it, to set it up, to set that spiritual bomb, I guess you can call it. You know what I'm saying? That little trap, that devil's trap. You want to come at me? You want to activate this? Oh, look, here's a little devil's trap for you. Boom. Okay. I really like that fact. And I actually took the time to go through his books and actually look at these sigils, these grand seals, these grand sigilliums, and really read down through them, cross-reference them in the other books. And I really like the fact that these things really work. Okay. My brother Brian, he set up the seal of anguish in his own in the trailer that he was in, and his patron demon, literally took off like a freaking cannon. Took him a couple of tries to try to ward off and abandon all those negative energies, the afflictions that were afflicting him. And what was interesting was it sounded like a gunshot and a vehicle you know, backfiring. It was so loud, he said it literally shook the trailer. Okay. It literally sent the dogs in nearby homes to start barking. But the problem was nobody else noticed it. Okay. Nobody noticed it but him. He heard it, he saw it, he said it scared the crap out of him. But yet, he hasn't had a problem since, outside of dealing with his brother. But the little financial issue there and having to find a new home. But outside of that, it was a minor setback for him. Now, in my case, I've been dealing with a lot of psychological, a lot of spiritual attacks. Okay. For me, it's more mental, it's draining, almost like a psychic vampire sucking the life out of me. Okay. Just keeping that energy level way, way down. Okay. Where I'm tired all the time. And to do this, you need to understand the mechanics of how to employ defensive measures. Now, you can sit there and do a cleansing with with sage, white sage, black sage, whatever type of sage you want. Okay, white sage is always good according to pagans and Wiccans. Okay, personally, I like the smell of it. Okay, my son's mom, not so much. In fact, she hates all my incense. But my point is this: sage will only temporarily divert that energy. Okay, just like taking a sea salt bath. Okay, sea salt is the purest ingredient on earth, the purest when it comes to spiritual warfare. Spiritual defense within sea salt means you take a hot bath filled with sea salt and you submerge every aspect of yourself. But much like sage, it only is a temporary fix. The enemy is still out there, the affliction is still there, and you really have to understand that if you don't deal with the situation, it's going to keep coming back time and time again. Okay. Now, notice we got a couple people here, Jack, Waldo, and Satana Set Creole Conjure Witch. What's up, guys? Um, so, anyways, as I was saying, you really need to deal with the situation. Otherwise, it's going to come back and haunt you time and time again. Like well, I'm going to pick on this Joker guy here real fast on this one. It's kind of like a bad rash. Okay. It's just going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. Okay. Until you finally deal with it. All right. So, number one, you got to set up, number one, you got to banish those energies. Number two, you got to set up wardings. And number three, you've got to return it back to sender. Okay. And like Sumnus Dreadwood, I have to agree with him on this, is you really got to set up traps, devil traps. Okay. Devil traps are one of those kind of a pop-up surprise where anytime an enemy tries to afflict you with, say, a psychological or spiritual attack, it's going to pop up and bite them in the ass. Okay? It's really going to stop them dead in their tracks and going, wait, where the fuck did this come from? Okay? Now, the best way to do this would be a combination of things. Number one, warding seals. Okay? Runes, be it Nordic runes, Celtic runes, Germanic runes, hieroglyphs from ancient Egyptian pantheons, ancient Greek or Roman, Indo-European even. Get into the Welsh, Middle Eastern type stuff. Get into the runes. Runes such as the Theban, otherwise known as the witches' runes. The Norse runes, okay, for the Nordic Vikings. Very, very awesome stuff, especially when you put it into a specific sequence. Okay. Runes can be used for healing, it can be used for cursing, it could be used for protection. Okay. But you have to understand what each rune represents, both in positive and negative attributes. All right. Now, to do this, I would recommend putting them on all four walls, the ceiling, the floor. Make it into a protective bubble. Now, if you can't do it on the outside of your property, like say if you're in the city, okay, just do it in your apartment. Okay. But if you have your own home, your own property that you own, you could literally set this up on all four corners of north, east, west, and south of your personal property. Now, if you have rituals, okay, and yes, people can Google this stuff. You can even go underneath every book from Raymond Buckland to who was a neo pagan massive author. Okay. You can go underneath Gramassi, who wrote The Bloodthorn Witch. Okay. He's written a lot of books. You can go underneath, say, for an example, Raven Silverwolf. You can go underneath, let's go with Sorceress Cagliostro, the Necromancer, you who wrote the Blood Sorcery Bible and talked a lot about reversals and curses and hexes and demonolatry and stuff like that, utilizing blood, nails, you name it, from your enemy, your opponent. Okay, you can use a lot of things. There's a lot of different sources out there. Okay, you can go to a lot of different places to get them. You can even talk to practitioners of any tradition and learn from them. Okay, let them know, hey, I'm looking to defend myself. Do you have any recommendations? Okay, and they'll most likely give you a lot of different sources within their unique tradition. All right, now personally, I recommend the trial and error effect. Okay, when you get into the old ways, I'm not talking this watered down bullshit that they call practices today. I'm talking that pure, old fashioned, traditional witchcraft. Okay? I'm talking the black magic from the seven forbidden arts. I'm talking the stuff that was banned back in the second century, not the last 1,000 years worth of grimoires. And one of those type of things is the Hermetics, things that were based off the Hermetics, which goes hand in hand with the JCI, like the keys of Solomon, okay? The Solomantic keys, the 72 goetic demons, also known as the jinn, okay? These are Middle Eastern sources of demonic activity. They're based off the ancient Greek method daemon. Okay, the daemon is known as somebody that is, or a being that is beneficial to mankind, to the practitioner. The cocoa daemon, on the other hand, is baneful, harmful, much like a curse or hex. Okay, they literally lead you into condemnation and damnation. All right, their only goal is to afflict damage. Now, what I find interesting about black magic in utilizing things like alchemy, herbalism, okay, is that you find things that work. You look at Haitian Voodoo in in the zombie powder. Every Bokor or Bokor, depending if it's voodoo, Voodoo, hoodooism, has their own traditional name for a dark sorcerer. Okay, be it a warlock, meaning oathbreaker and betrayer, to a Boko or a Bokor, being somebody who sells their self for money. Okay, meaning those who go out and get paid to perform services. Okay, the the even in Celtic traditions of Druidism, they have their own tradition as well. They have the nine herbs, okay, in the ancient Gaelic. Okay, not the English variation because it's a little bit off. Okay, so I'd recommend getting into the old languages, the dead languages, and really get into what they have to say. Okay, and no, I'm not referring to whores. Okay, if you look up the word baggage, it comes across in the definition of, say, for an example, actual luggage. Okay, but baggage is another term for prostitute. It's also another name for a working person, okay, a working girl, or what's that term there, gigolo or bigelow or whatever the hell that's called for a guy, okay? So when I'm talking about selling your services, I'm talking about black magicians who get paid to do curses, hexes, rituals, okay? Performing summonings, performing things like, say, for an example, a blessing on somebody. Okay. Let's say, for an example, you want an item. Let's say, oh, I don't know. Let's say, for an example, a photograph of your grandmother or your grandfather to be blessed as a occult, let's say, a cursed item. Okay. That is something a black magician can do. But a black magician can also do other things, such as bringing an end to an enemy, bringing people together for, say, lust rituals. There's all kinds of things and methods that a black magician can do. All right. And to put yourself out there for hire, okay, you're basically selling your services to help benefit somebody else for a price. Now, a lot of people would assume that this is something new. The truth is, this is not new. You go back into the ancient world. I'm talking the Greco-Roman, the Greco-Greek, the Indo-European roots, the ancient Egyptian roots, and you're going to see black magicians or sorcerers being consulted by kings of tribes. You're going to be seeing them where, even in African traditions, where their huts are either close by the king or on the very outskirts of the tribe. No move was ever done without first consulting the oracles, without consulting these magicians. Okay. But you also got to take into consider the laws of the land. In one tribe, both black magic and white magic is considered legal. And in another tribe, only white magic is legal. Okay. And another black magic and such. So you really have to look at the laws of the land, but also the region in which it was practiced. And here's the thing, people would pay these sorcerers for their time. However, if they did not have currency, they would pay them with fish or furs in exchange for these services. Okay. So you really have the wrong idea of what selling your services means, especially in the art of black magic. Okay. So, so with that said, let's continue. When we get into deploying defensive means, when we get into reversals, putting up these wards, banishing those energies, doing reversal spells to send that back to the source of its root, okay, meaning the practitioner or the whoever is sending it. 9 times out of 10, it is a JCI member or members who are praying heavily against you. However, this does not rule out other sorcerers and practitioners of occultism and the dark arts. Do you not think that they have their own sorcerers? Because they do. Look at the Vatican. Would these exorcisms not be performed by magicians who understood the art? Yes, I do. I work with both demonic and angelics. Now, the first thing you have to do, once you've put in the the wards, you've banished all those energies. You put up the wards to protect your sanctum, yourself. You can even mark yourself with your patron and other beings that you work with. Putting on a tattoo is a permanent seal between you and that being, that entity. It is that gateway that is permanently there. You get into blessing and consecration of your sanctum in yourself. Like I said earlier, you can use sea salt to bless yourself, ground cinnamon to heal, paprika to inflict and poison that negative energy, to get rid of it, to banish it. When you're doing a hex or a curse, chicken feet are very, very good for planting your enemy's feet firmly in the ground to prevent them from running, fleeing when they realize that the curse or whatever affliction has been reversed. Utilizing a photo is a great way to inflict heavy damage on them, especially if you're utilizing demonolatry. Okay? Let's take the beings from Caractères, for an example. Working with Zazazel and the different beings, like let's say for an example, the Dralith. Think of the Dralith as, how should I say this? The best way to describe them would be like bottom feeders. Okay? But beings that need to be respected. The way I would do it would be the same way Jason Miller would. Okay? If you read, for an example, Protection and Reversal Magic by Jason Miller, or Jason Augustus Miller, I should say, you'll understand because when he does the witches, the Wheel of Hecate, he literally brings in the fates, the furies, and the gorgons. Okay? Now you can actually Google these three, okay, for yourself and actually learn what they're about. But the fates are a lot like Osiris. They're the judges, the condemnation of condemning the wrongdoers, the evildoers. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they flash some person in the street or if they basically got pissed off and said fuck you to their boss. It really doesn't matter because if you employ them, they'll judge you just as equally as they would a serial killer. The Gorgons are more of those type of beings that literally will just simply annihilate you. Okay, that's basically what they do. You take Medusa, for an example. Because of what she went through, she felt herself cursed by Athena, okay, the goddess of wisdom and warfare. Now, there's two stories behind Athena. How should I say this? There's two stories that pop up when it comes to Medusa. One is by pirates, and the other is by Poseidon himself attacking her, attacking Medusa in the Temple of Athena. Okay, basically violating her. And she cries to, in both cases, she cries to Athena, and Athena turns her into this hideous beast, this Gorgon, who with a single glance can turn men into stone. Now, she viewed herself as cursed. Okay. And what's interesting here is that you can look at that as a curse if you want, but look at it as a blessing. She was weak and now she's powerful. Okay. Now let's look at black magic. Now, what we were just discussing. Okay. Banishings, wardings, protection, and reversals. Okay. And now it's about fortifying your sanctum. Okay. Amulets and talismans really do a number, especially when they're charged properly. Not necessarily, Waldo. Every time you mention your deity, your patron, for an example, let's say, for an example, you're working with Satan, the Grigori, the Watcher Angel, okay, the adversary, the tempter, depending on which pantheon of the JCI you go with, okay. If you go with angelology or demonology, he is known as the Lord of witches and warlocks, sorcerers alike. He's the witch father. But then he's considered a prince, according to, say, Anton Zander LaVey, okay, in his Satanic Bible. In another, he's known as the King of Hell. Look at the Enochian keys. Be friendly on Be friendly unto me, for I am one and the same, a true worshipper of the highest and infallible King of Hell. The first king being Satan. Okay? You go into the JCI Bible, 2 Corinthians 4:4. Okay? Satan is the God of this world, and then it goes on to the adulteries and all these little heathen activities that he supposedly brings. Okay? So basically, he just named off who the king of this world is. Okay, right there, 2 Corinthians 4:4. Now, if we go into older texts, we know it's Belial, okay? Belial in the scroll of Amram. You go even back even further into the book of Enoch, chapter 8 through 10. You have Azazel, the ancient darkness. Go into Zoroastrianism. You have Orion. Go back into ancient Greek. You have Phosphoros, okay? The day star, long before you even get into Lucifer, the morning star, associated with Venus in Roman pantheon. Okay, so you really have to go all the way back into demonology and angelology through art and history. You have to go into mythology, and you have to go through the world's regions to even find the truth. Okay, not just some small portion from one source. Okay. If you go by the JCI, he's the enemy, the murderer. Any being that you work with is Satan. Okay. They don't give a damn if it's Astaroth, Belial, Orion. Oh, it's just Satan. One being. All of these guises. Okay. They're the enemy of Jesus Christ. Well, Jesus Christ can go fucking suck my pink stick. He's a made up fucking pussy for all I can, in my opinion. Okay, but when you read the Gospels, even Jesus Christ was a fucking sorcerer. Okay, you go back into Welsh, which is much older tradition than the Canaanites. Okay, and you see another variation of this so-called sorcerer. Okay, named Merlin. You know, a sorcerer that was made to look in the same exact manner, prophesied his coming, born of a virgin, performed miracles, was sacrificed. Wow. Okay, but you see the point. Every tradition has the foundation of polar opposites. But you've also got to go back in history and link the sources to find the truth. The JCI has done nothing but to steal and convert, corrupt systems worldwide that they've dominated, that they've defeated. When they went into the European aspects, the Europeans, the Knights of Templar who worshipped Baphomet, the guardian and wealth giver of the Knights of Templar, the European church, the protectors of the people, okay? They introduced their doctrines. They intermingled with the pagan views until they became so powerful they rivaled the Vatican and the Vatican destroyed them. Okay? Not true, Waldo. They were French, Englishmen. Do your homework. Yes, they actually did numerous campaigns into the Jewish and Middle Eastern traditions, into the Middle Eastern countries, but they were not originally Jews. Now, once you've done all this, once you've set up the wardings, once you've banished and set up seals and protection sigils, you started putting up talismans, start working with your demons. And this is why I said what I said, Felix. Okay? Just because you have your patron's personal sigil on your arm as a permanent tattoo does not mean they drain you. It builds on your trust. It builds on your relationship with them. It shows your loyalty to them. Remember when I said the scroll of Amram? Belial? Belial was the leader of the sons of darkness, whereas Michael was the leader of the sons and daughters of light. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay? That is a Middle Eastern scroll. Okay? Now here's the kicker. When you choose a side, the other side will take notice and hate you. They will do whatever they can to bring you away from the current, to make you doubt yourself, to make you think twice, to break you down, to hurt you, and to leave you with nothing. But once you've chosen that side, you have protection. Think of legions backing you up. Lucifer, the morning star, the day star, shining his light upon your path. Satan's wisdom, teaching you how to go around things, to deal with things. Myrmidon Pontifex Maximus in Tentatio Diabolus, specifically the first book known as the Devil's Bible, puts forth two prayers, one to Satan and one to Lucifer. Instead of asking demons for things, try just praying to them. Pray to these angels. Give them recognition. Build the relationships. Build upon the knowledge that they can share with you. But you have to get out of your own way. Forget what you've learned from the world. The world only knows one thing, JCI. Realize that, because when you look at things, look at the government. When's the last time you saw a government agent, such as the president, a district attorney, or even a judge, being sworn in with anything but a JCI Bible? Think about that. You see, the JCI is the dominant religion. Why? Because they have sheer numbers. Okay? They have sheep that believe what they're told, not what they actually know. This has played a huge part in the construction of the world governments, and it has gone into your laws. It has literally gone into the laws. If you look at your laws of your countries, if you look at the laws of the land, you will notice that they are out of the Ten Commandments. Okay? They are out of the Ten Commandments. 666 laws total between state and federal laws. Ironic, isn't it? And yet, it's watered down even further, going from the JCI to the government down to your legal system, and bam, right out into the public, which is why you have such chaotic worldviews today. Lucifer was Roman, but also Greco-Greek or ancient Greek. If you go back into ancient Greek and look into how do you pronounce that name? Hesperos, I want to say. I'm probably slaughtering that name, but and I do apologize if I did. Known as the Dark Star. Okay, but go into Phosphoros. Okay, the twin brothers, the Day Star and the Night Star. Okay, or otherwise known as the Dark Star, and you will see the difference between Lucifer and Satan. Much in the same way as you would see a Ahura Mazda and that of Orion. Okay, or even if you want to go into the Necromyicon, you'd have Marduk versus Tiamat. Okay, go into Middle Eastern traditions, you have Yahweh versus Satan, or say for an example, Michael versus Lucifer. Okay, you're going to see the exact same duality going back 2,500 years, all the way back to ancient Sanskrit. Okay, this is 25 to 3,000 years ago. Okay, and you can go back into the Paleolithic era. You can go all the way back even further and go into what is known as the oh fuck, I can't think of the name of it offhand, but it's the ancient worlds. Okay, before Canaanite came around, it was known as the Chaldeans. Okay, knowing this, you can go back into the Chaldean pantheon. You can go into their language, their history, look into their gods. Okay, today in the 72 Goetic demons, you have Baal or Baal. Okay, Bael or Baal. Okay, depending on the translation. Now, who was his father or mother? That was Dagon, the ancient dragon, who later became known as Tiamat, Shirazon, Leviathan, and such throughout history. Okay? You see what I mean? Going back in time, you get further away from the corruption. You get into more pure gnosis. But you got to be willing to work for it. You got to go into linguistics. You got to go into the pantheons. You got to go into the world religions. You can't just stick to one. You got to go into all of them. Okay? It's like going into Hinduism. You got the Devi. Go into Ancient Greek, you have the daemons or the coco daemon. Okay. You go into Welsh, you've got, or even Celtic or Gaelic, you have the Druid versus the Duroc. Okay. Witchcraft, you have witches and then you have warlocks. Okay. And you'll see the definitions just in the same way that you would see these ancient gods. The corrupted versions today going all the way back to where they were one and the same. Okay? Witches and warlocks were both the male and female practitioners, the wise men and women. It wasn't until the JCI came along that they were corrupted. The warlocks were seen as evil. Okay? There's a lot of material just on that alone. Many authors have touched on this. Okay? Paul Huzon, Peter Haining, or even Hans Holzer. Okay? These are practitioners that have been around for 40 plus years, written numerous books. Okay? Peter Haining's family line goes all the way back to ancient Scotland, 17th century. He wrote the Warlock's book. But you gotta go back in time, in history, mythology, art, to see where all these things manifested from. Only then can you get the purest sense of these gods. The names, the types of practices, the runes. Okay? Get into alchemy. Get into the divination. When you look up the term witchcraft, okay? When you look up the term possession, four things always manifest. Number one, you have divination. You have witchcraft, necromancy, and most spiritual conjuration. Okay? Now, a lot of people do not realize what goes into these things. They're based off fear. They're based off what they've been told, not what they know. When I was down in Texas, living in Texas, I was living in this area that was heavily influenced by Masonic, the Masons, but also the Catholic Church. Not the Roman Catholic, but the Catholic Church. White and green uniform, not the black and red. Okay? They had no friars down there. They were influenced by the Church of Christ or the Southern Baptist churches, stuff like that. Now, a lot of rumors went back and forth because of the fact that I said no to a Catholic minister. And I've discussed this numerous times in my videos. Be it all said and done, 3 counties had risen up against me and fell at my hands. The reason for this is because instead of turning around and cursing them and hexing them, I utilized knowledge. And I showed them point blank, this is the history. This is the mythology. This is what you're taught and what you're being told. You want to know what a particular topic is? Look into it yourself. Don't believe what you're told. I've always encouraged people, delve into it for yourself. Don't do it because I told you, or don't do it because E.A. Koetting told you about it. Do it for you because you want to evolve. Okay? It does not matter who. Don't expect somebody else to tell you the truth. I live my life by 2 codes, by 2 simple rules. Number one, whatever you preach, always back it up. Now, what have I done here? I've given you sources, I've given you references to go look for yourself. But two, I've also made myself available to the public. I've been answering your questions. Okay? Two rules. Outside of that, it is the satanic rules: self preservation and self gratification. All things that bring you gratification is all good as long as it does not violate the number one and highest law: self preservation. All right. Now, with that said, let me catch up here on some of these. Let's see, the Axel age. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Theistic Satanism is always good. I was actually in a discussion with somebody the other day that wanted to know the difference between spiritual Satanism and theistic. Now, personally, in my own personal view, these two are one and the same. Now, I started out in atheist in what is known as LaVeyan Satanism. I picked up the Satanic Bible by Anton Szandor LaVey. I studied it. I got in all his works, all his books. And then I branched out into spiritual, theistic, and finally traditional Satanism. Traditional Satanism is my path. Okay. That is the one that I've chosen, the one that fits me personally. Okay. Not just necromancy, but that as well. So dark paganism, always good. Their views are very similar to that of a Satanist, in my opinion. Um, 2 years, wow. Wait until you come into your 29th year and you look back and you see exactly how far you've come, the knowledge that you possess. I was talking with a woman today, a client, when I was at work, or I should say yesterday because it's now Wednesday morning. It's 1:39 in the morning, and I closed, which meant I didn't get home until 11:37 last night or this night. All right. So basically, she and I were talking about the knowledge and the different types of paths and the differences between the orders, churches, and temples. The legal system and the laws and how the world views things. And then we started talking about our lives, and I told her, I said, this is what I've got going on. I do 3 jobs. I'm an author. I'm working on my second book, taking care of a 2-year-old and stuff like this. And she says, man, that's insanity. I said, you want insanity? Work for this company that I'm working for. Just kidding. But anyways, it's actually a pretty fun place. A lot of interesting people. But anyways, um, but yeah, there's a lot of things that would be classified as insanity, but you really have to learn the difference between a cult and the occult. There's a difference. You know, if you get into a place and it ends up being similar to, say, Waco, or say, for an example, Charles Manson and his family, that's not the occult. A lot of people, like these morons that don't haven't even gotten past ninth grade, that are in Texas. Okay, I'm not joking. They graduate as soon as they hit ninth grade. That's it. That's the highest level of education they have in this region. It's sad, really. They believe everything that the church tells them. So, anyways, I sat there and I explained everything to them. I told them about everything. I made myself available to them. And before it was all said and done, I had all 3 counties in my favor. The only 2 groups that were against me still when I left Texas was the town council for Red River County, and namely Clarksville, Texas, and that of the church, namely the Catholic Church. Plain and simple. So basically, I took what they did and I reversed it on them because people don't expect you to sit there with the knowledge and the actual facts, sharing references, and actually taking the time to explain things to an individual or individuals. Okay. Just about every other day, I was having this girl at the Family Dollar or the Dollar General down there asking me questions. Every time I went into Walmart down there, I was asked questions. I've watched women look at my pentagram and suddenly just grab hold of their husbands, like, oh my God, the devil's here. You know, and sure, part of me got off on it, but that's the Satanist in me. But my point is, without knowledge, you can't get very far. There's an old expression: to know thyself is to know thy enemy. Okay? Look at the witch's creed, the witch's pyramid, the witch's oath. The number one thing is to know. Most people don't even understand that. In today's world, you have to know what you're about, who you are, what is your craft. Only then can you dare to practice it, dare to be out in public dressed with a pentagram or Crocs, or perhaps even to doing rituals outside, praying to the god or goddess, be it Diana, Kununos, be it Satan or Lilith, okay? Osiris or Isis, be it Frey or Odin. You have to know and dare to do things. You have to dare to get out of your comfort zone, to delve into the product, to delve into the myths and the legends, become obsessed with them. Then you can will yourself into the conjuration through rituals, through evocations and invocations, the summonings, the conjurations. Will yourself and those things that you desire into manifestation. But you got to keep silent as well upon your own personal practices. Keep things to yourself. Otherwise, somebody's going to use it against you. Spiritual warfare. Okay? And finally, to go forth and apply it to your life. The five elementals, the 5 points of a pentagram, no matter if it's verted or inverted. But only you can discern where you want to go, how you want to do it, how far are you willing to go, and what fits you as the individual. But you have to know, not just yourself, but your enemies. You have to understand your craft and go from there. And with that said, I'm going to end this here. Have a good night. You can always message me here on my personal channel. I'm also on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. Okay? I'm the head of the Order of the Black Thorn, and that's with an E at the end. Okay? Again, I hope this is educational. I hope it's been enlightening. I'm Michael Hyson, Angelus, son of Abaddon. Have a good night, and until next time.